Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of StarMade. This is Surge, and we're going to take the second part look at this ship of mine called the Breaker. So, first episode I will leave in the description if you haven't seen it already. We went through the top few levels of the interior of the Breaker, and there was actually a few parts that I missed and I haven't showed you, so I'm going to show you those quickly before we continue on down to the bottom levels. Hopefully I don't have to make this into a three-parter, but I mean, I'm getting pretty close to finishing a brief explanation of how this thing looks from the inside. So we're going to jump back inside here. If you remember from last episode, this is the library, and down from here we have the second floor, and we went that way on the second floor, and we explored all of this floor. We went down to this floor, and we explored almost all of this, except we didn't take it all the way to the end. Actually, I take that back. We did explore all of this floor. I think it's this floor that we didn't go all the way around to, so let's try and do that now. Let's go all the way to the back here, and this is where we didn't get to. So what we did do is we saw this big empty room here that could be a ballroom or a utility room, or just, it could be honestly used for whatever. It's just a big empty room right now. But behind this room is where we didn't go. So behind here we have two rooms opposite each other, and an airlock, and a nice little garden right here. So the airlock is, I'll show you where the airlock goes in just a second, but first off we're going to have a look down in this room that doesn't have a door. This is sort of a general meeting room slash briefing room for those who are about to embark out of the shuttle bay doors. And that's what that is down there, the shuttle bay doors. I don't think that button actually does anything. I think it was supposed to, but I never did end up making it do anything. But anyway, this is a nice little meeting room. Nice desk, big long desk, and a little reception desk right here. And some waiting room area as well, and some shelves. Little pot plants everywhere. On the opposite side, we have the shuttle bay control room. And here we have just a little bit of a holographic display to check incoming cargo and do scans. We have a airlock control that doesn't work. Oh dear, I think I got out of the core. Oh no, I clicked that. Okay, cool. So yeah, no, that doesn't actually work, so that button is kind of pointless right now. It's supposed to allow the person through the airlock, but I never did get a chance to set that up. I might do eventually, especially if I turn this into a, oh, my voice is really sore. I just got back from work. It was a pretty long day. Spoke to a lot of people. It's part of my job, and it was a lot of speech, so anyway, over here you got some buttons. This button here actually drops the force field. Or is supposed to. There we go. That drops the force field at the back there. This button actually opens the hangar bay door, which if you have a look from the outside is actually sliding inwards. And as you can see, this is a small hangar that has a shuttle inside of it. And the shuttle is pretty basic. You go through obviously the airlock, and you take your way down these steps. Let me turn the HUD back off. And you've got inside of here a little cargo in here, a little bit of ability to move things around. It's very speedy, very hard to control little shuttle, but it's just used for some people moving if necessary. You could probably fit a small fighter or some sort of small escort ship inside of there. But yeah, so that's the shuttle bay room. That's one part that I forgot to show you guys last episode. Let's close that back up again. Force field up and door up, so you can see the door rising up out of the ground there. So there you go. I think that was it. Yeah, because after that and everything else I did go through with you guys. Oh, forgive me for my voice. I might be using a new microphone, but my voice must sound awful. I can't hear it really well myself because of how I got my microphone set up. But I'm sure as soon as I listen to this, it's gonna sound awesome. Yeah, so that's the top floor completely looked at anyway. So a quick appraisal of the outside. We'll do a good look at the outside in a moment. It looks like my turret's got a bit distracted with something. There's a couple of my stations off there in the distance. Not all of them are very aligned very well, but that's my bad. So let's take a look at the bottom now. So ordinarily, if we were walking through this, we'd have to get to this elevator. As soon as we got into the elevator, we'd be able to press the button to the very bottom, and that's where we'd go. We'd go down this shaft. A bit of decoration for the trip down so it doesn't get entirely boring. And we get down here and these doors would open. In fact, let's call the elevator. As you see, the elevator comes all the way down. And it's supposed to trigger the lights as it comes down, but I don't think that's working correctly. Yeah, it sort of does. Probably should work better. Anyway, the doors would open. Out you'd step in, and now you're inside this, which is sort of like a commons room for the lower level workers. You got a bit of a lounge chair, some computer terminals, medical bays. Along here you have another hallway down. You got some exposed wires and systems in here as well, just for some decoration. Another hallway, glamored with banners. And here we have the, this is the residential quarter, I guess. These are the crew quarters. Over here we have mass amounts of crew bunkers and some basic chairs and tables kind of strewn about. And behind here you have the showers. You got sort of a vanity here, a couple of cubicles. It's a very close crew, so you know they're not too worried about seeing each other. And there's a communal shower. And yeah, you got an identical one on the other side. So you've got crew quarters A and crew quarters B, or the men's and the women's separate. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. They're identical. So are the showers. So you have no. Oh, sorry. Oh. You don't have any officer quarters, but you do have some private bathrooms in here for guests or offices. Ooh, and the water looks awesome now. Look at that beautiful, beautiful water. And you got a shower in here as well. So private shower, private bathroom, one on either side. And they're actually for this room up in here. And this is the War Masters or the Warlords or the Captains or whatever you want to call it. The Captain's room. This is his room, his bedroom, all dark and foreboding with lots of banners. And you've got the Commander's, or let's just call it the Commander's Lounge. So you got a lovely little big couches on either side with some cooling refreshments. You hit this button, which is all off on the side over here. So you hit this button. You hit this button, and you hit it again, and it hopefully will work. Okay, so that turns off the light. And then you can raise up that, and it's a bit of a holographic display. Supposedly, I guess, for entertainment purposes. Yeah, so that's that. Let's progress onward. You come down here, and got a bit of lag. Come down here. Oh God, what's going on now? We're under attack again. No, it looks like it's okay. I've got 30 frames. Huh, I don't know. Let's press on. So, you come along here and you step out of here and you're in sort of another commons. There's a lot of commons in this ship. This is why I'm sort of thinking about turning this into a yacht, because there's just a lot of areas to relax. This is sort of a memorial or like a statue with some sort of purpose. And there's a little bit of a information thing set into the floor there with no data in it. So you got a few more terminals off to the side here. Step out here and you enter cargo. So this is the cargo, the main cargo. But before we get there, we're going to take around the corner here into another room. This is the training room for the elite troops. Or at least that's what it is for the moment. Ordinarily, I'd imagine this would be some sort of a ballroom or meditation room or luxury suite, penthouse maybe, I don't know. But it looks directly out the back of the ship and has a lovely, lovely view of the backside of the ship. So yeah, let's. This video is definitely going to be a little bit longer than the last, but let's press on. So you've got this little catwalk that takes a look over the cargo, and as you can see, the cargo is a lot of cargo. Not a ton of cargo for the size of the ship, but enough, and it's sort of got like a visual layout, so you can actually see the cargo pile up as you start filling this up with cargo. You've got another floor down here, so you'd take a ramp down there. Not very important. You got a lovely garden here. So you take around the corner here, and you got other cargo bays for very specific cargoes that you can have set to pull from there to pull very specific cargoes into different locations. Say if you want all your ores to go into here, and all your capsules to go into here, and all your hulls to go into here, you can do that. This is sort of, again, built with an idea of being a sort of a mobile base. But not necessary, of course. So if you take around the corner, though, as opposed to going into the specialty room, you come into this hallway here, and this hallway has an airlock, which goes down into the hangar. You got a bit of an administration sort of bay right here that isn't very decorative, but that's what I did. A little table off to the side here, and you come in here, and this is the faction hall. So this is where you would have faction meetings. This would be very specific for only faction use and faction access. I suppose I could even put in some doors that can only be opened by faction members. But yeah, so you got these little statues, what I think look like little guys holding onto a block. And then you've got the faction module right there. So the faction module isn't where you'd think it would be normally, but it takes a little bit of access to get there. I mean, it is a bit weak. You only have to really cut through there to get to the faction module, but you do have to try and do it while staring down the barrel of a big bloody turret. So yeah, it's not in the safest locations, but again, this wasn't intentionally meant to be a warship initially, and it may end up not being a warship at the end of the day if I do decide to refit it. So yeah, so what we can do now is we can go down this airlock over here, and if we go down the airlock, we end up in the hangar. But before we go into the hangar, we're going to go into the hangar control suite, which is around the corner here. You open up this door, which is on a rail, of course. Well, I shouldn't say of course, because that's like one of the few doors that are actually on a rail in this ship. So yeah, you come around the corner here, and you're in there's a lot of little cubicles here for pilots to kind of chill, especially when they're waiting on commands. There was going to be a setup here. As you can see, there's a bunch of like launch modules. None of this technically works right now, but it was going to allow you to like choose a specific ship and allow to launch it off one by one. A bit squished for space in here, so that's really not the case, so wouldn't worry too much about that. I believe this button though does unlock the force field on the door. So if you have a look here, press that, and there's the force field, and if you press it again, and now press it again, and now there's no force field. So in this button here, I believe, yep, that opens up the door at the back there. So I'm gonna not leave it open, we're gonna leave it closed, and I'm gonna open it up another way shortly. So both these sides are identical, same on both. And yeah, so this is the hangar. It holds currently, what's this, 6 of my little Furies. They're my little fighters. Not terribly powerful, but then I don't expect fighters to be terribly powerful. They're pretty cool. I can show them off to you in another video. But as you can sort of see, they have a little cockpit that's on a rail that slides back over the core, and you would sit in there. It's pretty cool, as if you're actually flying around in like a TIE fighter or something. It makes it feel like it's a usable ship. I'm going to make a drone variant of these. It doesn't have any rails on it, and they can be used in a fleet as like a fleet fodder. But they are meant to be manned. Each of these fighters are meant to be actually, you're meant to jump in them. And here you can see one of the ones that are actually closed. See, it slides backwards over the actual core. And then you've got the pilot sitting right there. And it makes sense to have the core shot and the pilot die. So that's where I stuck it. So this hangar is quite large, as you can see, as far as hangars go and the size of ship this is. Plenty of room in here for your fighters, maybe something even bigger if you wanted to. You got this walkway along here. You've got all of your, oh god, You got all of your gravity modules in the wall. You've also got, what we'll do here is we'll open up this force field here. And you've also, if I press this button, you've also got these side access doors to the hangar as well. They're for shuttles, smaller ships, that kind of stuff. Or if you just don't want to use the back entrance for some reason, or you need to fit something bigger through there. Mostly there to look cool. Mostly to look cool. Alright, some random blocks sitting there. I never noticed that before. They should be removed. Let me just remove those. Okay, so they're not meant to be there, but that's all fixed now. So you can close the force field, and then you can close the door, and obviously that button will toggle the door open and closed. And yeah, so this is the hangar, and I believe that's all of the interior, unless I've missed somewhere, which I don't think I have. But yeah, that's the entirety of the interior. Actually, I've missed one small little area that is not super important, but it is technically interior, so we'll take you there really quick. Over here we have a docker, and that allows you into this little room, which is a teleporter bay. And there's one on either side, and just a really simple access point. You can use this to teleport somewhere else in the ship. It's much easier than to dock up there than it is elsewhere. So yeah, let's take a quick look at this ship on the exterior. Let's turn off that hood again. And yeah, let's take a look at this thing. So as you can see, it's got two swooping wings, swooping forward. I put a lot of effort into different types of hulls for different types of paint jobs. Oh, I'm missing a bit of block there. Okay. And as you can see, it's got a bit of almost like a war-mongering, war paint sort of appeal to it. So the designs I have on the angles here aren't so pretty when you look at them straight, like on an angle like that, but they do work themselves out in sort of an illusionist kind of way to look really nice from a distance. I've got these inset emblems here of sort of like helmets with horns, like Viking helmets with horns, or ram skulls, or whatever you want to look at it, and whatever it looks like to you. You get a bunch of little AMS turrets. They're not super effective, and if I do refit this thing, I will be using my new AMS turrets. But they do look pretty cool. They've got a nice shape to them. They just do not have a very good directional firing, but they're pretty good at what they do, and there's a lot of them on this ship, and it's pretty resilient against missiles. So these are new. I've added these new turrets, which I might have shown off before. I don't know. But, well, I would have, because they're on this station as well. So these are some orange ones specifically for this. Little shredders. They're to take out enemy fighters and just do a decent amount of damage to other ships' hull. And then I've got these little turrets down here, which are like little tiny railguns. They take out ships that get a little too close for comfort. So if a fight is getting up really close, these guys can just blast it and do a ton of damage. So in the back here, you can see these are the engines. I got another emblem here, a little bit more articulate, a little bit more... oh, I do apologize for my voice again, guys. So they're a little bit more alien looking, I guess. You got the engines in here, which kind of looks like a cobbled together series of different engines from different ships, or a very articulated set of engines. So, and you got this kind of like antenna that kind of sticks out the back here, or kind of like spine. You got a couple of back wings here as well, and the blinking lights aren't working. So let's quickly do that, guys. Because you know my opinion on blinking lights, and if you don't, the opinion is that blinking lights are amazing and should always be used. I gotta remember where I stuck the logic for them. In here. So I believe if I press this button, there we go, the blinking lights go off. So if we jump on the outside now, we should see the blinking lights. There's a blinking light there. There we go. And you got a blinking light on each of these little wings back there. See the blinking lights go off there and there. See, there you go. So one thing I don't know whether it actually did what it was supposed to do, but let's just quickly check. See that green light right there? That green light will actually switch to a, oops. Green light should actually switch to a red light as soon as this door goes all the way back. Let's wait for that to do its thing. There you go. So as soon as that door goes all the way back, that light turns to a red so that it's an indication that the door is open. I mean, it's pretty obvious that the door is open, but I guess it's just a nice little bit of feature that it has for the sake of having it. So yeah, on the undercarriage, you can see there's another turret there. The big turret is disconnected, but I will be replacing that big turret with a self-powered version of the exact same thing. I got another turret dock right there, which I might add another one of those to. I'm not sure how well that will work being that close to the big turret, but hopefully that's not an issue. It may be, though, and it may mean that I just have to take away that turret point access. As you can see, I put a lot of effort into making sure that there's a lot of little patterns, a lot of little emblems, a lot of little shapes and colors to kind of like split up some of the big spotches of single block colors. For instance, in the inside of the actual thing, so you got your two cannons right here on either side, and big antennas that kind of like stretch out from the center. You got your big breaker cannon in the center here, which does a lot of damage. It fires a volley of 6 pulse missile nukes, which I think do between 20 to 30 million damage a piece. In fact, I can check that really quick. Let's just check that. I might have over-exaggerated that, but let's just find out for sure. So they do, each missile does, what's this, 6.5 million damage per missile. So yeah, that does a lot of damage, and there's 6 of them. And there's a very big radius. They have a 58-meter radius on them as well. So they're pretty powerful. They consume a lot of power, but that's kind of the point. They're there to do a ton of damage. They are my breaker cannon. So yeah, a few more antennas in here, but like I was saying before, little things to break up the monotony. Underneath the wings here, you got some more industrial looking, stylized gray parts, sort of like some vents in here as well. So I got some vents off to the side. Just little details like that I think add a bit of charm to a ship that normally just wouldn't have a lot going on its surface. It's a bit, I don't think it's too messy in my opinion. Let me know if you do think it is, because a lot of this will be changed shortly to another color entirely once I ready it for becoming the breakers. No longer being the breaker, will be the ambassador. But when I get around that, so I got a little logo here that actually is supposed to say Havoc. I don't know how easy that is to read. And no, sorry, it's not meant to say Havoc. It's meant to say break. But yeah, there you go. I couldn't even read that correctly. So it's not supposed to be very noticeable. One thing I will point out is the sort of speckled, or like you can see like on this emblem here, you see the red stripes. They sort of look like they fade out towards the beginning and end. And that's actually to signify that it's not actually paint. It's the blood of my enemies. Yeah. So the idea, again, like I said, this is meant to be a ship that is somewhat of a mercenary, a bit of a bloodthirsty pirates almost. At least that was the original intention. And part of their, I guess, lore, one of their traditions is to paint the hulls of their ships in the blood of their enemies, to strike fear into that of their enemies. And as you can imagine, a lot of blood is required to paint this ship. But yeah, on the back here we got this really cool alien-looking skull, which I'm very proud of. Took me a lot of effort to make that look just the way it is. And yeah, I think it looks pretty cool, especially front on like that. And yeah, it's just little things like that, guys, that that do really make a difference, especially if you're going to look at doing some builds yourself. I am thinking about doing some videos to just kind of give a bit of tutorials on how to make things look pretty, how to do certain things with design, how to choose your colors correctly, how to offset different parts, and how to do certain shapes. If you're interested in learning these kinds of things, I'm more than happy to do some videos on them, so please let me know in the comments below if that is something you'd be interested in. So back here I got this ocular turret, which I call an ocular turret because it's kind of like an eyeball. And this thing is really actually bad. Like, it's not very good. I ought to replace it with something else. But right now it's just kind of a turret that sits out the back of the ship and fires backwards. It has a pretty good radius of fire. And it's sort of like a rear-facing turret to kind of take out enemies as they go. But honestly, those turrets that I have there are quite a bit more capable of doing the same job. So I might as well just make another platform there and have another turret connect to it. But for the time being, guys, this is the Breaker, my flagship on the server at the moment, and probably not for long. I probably will make this into that ambassador like I keep saying. But yeah, so one thing I do want to show off, the last little thing I want to show off, because it's still a work in progress, I never did finish this part, as I could never get it working correctly, is, in fact, I might just show off a couple of things. So we're going to go back into the core view, because there are a few things that I have to do that require you to look at this thing from this view. So first and foremost, let's have a quick look here. So these two front parts of the wings, they actually open up and reveal little missile bays, or torpedo tubes, I suppose is the correct terminology. So literally I was going to load up some AI controlled torpedo tubes with warheads on their warhead, and that would literally just fire out on command and would allow you to simply just literally launch torpedoes into the battle that would automatically AI themselves into the enemy, sort of like kamikazing around the battlefield. Problem was, they had a good chance of flying back and hitting into my ship, because it is such a large ship. So I'd probably only use it for distance, long distance fighting. But it's just not something I ever did get back to. I might switch them later on to, instead of firing torpedoes, fire out mines that are just supposed to like float out there in space, and then when something gets too close, they ram at the targets. Another thing to point out is, if you look at these windows just there under that second turret, the really long thin windows, if I go back to this button here, that will actually open and close the shutters. So they're kind of like blast shields shutters. So now they're open, nice big view. If we're going into combat, something's not good, we need to close them so you get a bit of extra protection. Completely useless, but completely cool. You get a button for the back door hanger. This is what I meant, I can open it up other ways. There's multiple ways I can do that. You can notice a few buttons there as well. And yeah, so, and then you've got the Helion engine, which is your breaker cannon, and if you press that, that actually makes the internals in there rotate. I personally am not too impressed with that myself. I think I could have done better, but that's what I did at the time, and if I ever do change this into the ambassador, that all is getting torn out. All of that breaker cannon is getting torn out, which is going to absolutely, you know, bring a tear to my eye. But I'm going to have to tear that out and replace it with a jump drive. So I've gone way over my limit here. I took a bit longer with this ship than I wanted to. I might have to do a third video now just to show off the systems, but I probably won't. I just want to show this off on a stylization. I just want to show off the look on the inside and everything. So let me know in the comments below what you thought of the breaker, whether you liked the look of it, whether I should improve certain things. Let me know, because I'm really keen to hear some feedback, especially before I take this back to the shop and turn it into the ambassador. Oh, excuse me. Also, on that note, if you think you have any good ideas for what I should do when I do turn it into the ambassador, please also let me know in the comments below, as I'd really, really like to hear your feedback. Otherwise, this has been Surge with a part 2 of the Breaker Ship Showcase. Subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a like if you liked the video. Leave a dislike if you disliked it. Because, yeah, that's an option. And, yeah, this has been Surge, signing out.